We're getting deeper into draft season, and we need to keep continuing to deep dive these prospects and to keep on doing it. That way, we're prepared for the NFL draft, we're prepared for our rookie drafts, and we're prepared with any changes that come on. And the player I want to talk about today is Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Out of all the prospects in this class, honestly, I'm the most comfortable with him. Been studying him since high school. Studying him while he was at Ohio State, watched all the Ohio State games at least once, sometimes multiple times. So I have a good feel with what he's about. He was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. We covered his tape, his film, when he was in high school on the channel back then. And what we saw then was he was a very cerebral route runner, very fluid in his breaks, had good hands. A lot of the stuff we saw at Ohio State, this guy was ahead of schedule when it comes to the cerebral things, when it came to the technical things. He was a very technical wide receiver, and he was very quick in a phone booth. During that time, there was a big debate between him and Julian Fleming, and really when you watch the two, you could tell that JSN was the more technical wide receiver, and that just stood out. Of course, Fleming had his injuries during his career, so it's apples and oranges a little bit, but Jaxon Smith-Njigba stood out during that sophomore season. When he got his opportunity, he made the most of it. He's demonstrated tremendous route running, good play, 4.01 yards per route ran in 2021. In 2021, he also had 8.3 yards after catch per reception. And then in his last 5 games in 2021, had 947 yards and 6 touchdowns. Finished the season with 112 catches, 1,595 yards, and 9 touchdowns. This dude blew up almost 1,600 yards on the year and finished it strong against Utah, over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Can't get a much better game than that. From the tape, you automatically can tell that Stroud trusts them immensely. He just throws it up, and he just trusts that JSN's going to make the play. Very smart route runner. We've seen this from high school. We saw this now, and it's only going to continue. That is not a deficit. That is a strength of his. Sells his breaks. He attacks leverages, uses head, shoulder, eyes to manipulate the defensive back, knows how to get in the back pocket of the defender, to get in the space behind them, to attack blind spots, can cut on a dime. No drifting hardly at all. Just makes that cut, makes that spin, moves on to where he needs to go. He's very assertive with his moves as well. Can move quickly laterally in a phone booth. Covers a lot of ground when he's moving laterally as well. He's an overall technician. When it comes to technique with damn near anything, he is solid. Very solid. He's ahead of schedule. One of those guys when you see in the league is just going to win on savviness because he's very savvy. And then you go to the ball skills, and he's got those for days. Strong hands, reads the ball well when it's in the air. If he's covered, he's open. If the ball's there and he's got a guy in his face, he's going to figure out how to make the play. Times his catches well. He's got good concentration. Hands are strong. Hands are plucky. Can catch the ball in stride. Nothing really wrong on his tape. But on the bad stuff to look at, he did not have a 2022 season. So that's just not time where he was developing. 88.6% of his snaps in 2021 were in the slot, which isn't a negative. It's just something you got to point out to be objective. Not much experience outside, and therefore you're going to catch a lot of reports of him needing to work on his release. I want to say this, that he just doesn't have much experience on the outside, and it's unknown about his release, but judging about how technical he is everywhere else, I imagine he's savvy. I imagine he's fine on the release. I saw that in high school, actually, that when he was coming off the line, that he was ahead of schedule there. I imagine he's fine there. I imagine that's just where he fit well in the offensive system there at Ohio State. I think he can play on the outside a little bit, but honestly, a guy in the slot isn't a big deal as long as you're getting targets, you're getting opportunities. You're looking at a guy here who's very solid when the ball's in the air. He's a technician. He's very technical. We know of a way he can win on the field. One thing you got to note here is he's not super explosive. You're not getting a Jamar Chase type of receiver. You're not going to get a guy who takes over because he goes vertical, he goes ham after the catch. This guy is very savvy. He creates separation. He can get you yards after the catch. He can sure do that. He's more than fast enough. He's more than explosive enough, but he's not considered an elite level burner, elite level separator when it comes to overall burst. He's good with savviness. He's good at using technique. He's good at changing his rhythm in the routes. He's good at changing his speed, making him appear faster than what he is. He's not slow at all. He is not a slow prospect. He's just a guy that, when it comes to comparing to the top end of that spectrum, he's just not really there, but everything else is ahead of schedule, is ahead of a lot of players at the NFL level when it comes to his cerebralness, his techniques, ability to get open due to the route running, due to him using the tactics, his cell tactics, his ability to attack blind spots, and everything else to get open. And then his footwork's really good. He can turn on a dime, catch the ball, change directions. That's all stuff you need. And sometimes that's even better than having burst and speed, especially you got a good quarterback. One thing you really need is a quarterback that trusts him, which I don't see why a quarterback wouldn't trust him, because what we saw with Stroud, just tossing it up and he's good to go. He's going to be an easy first-round pick in rookie drafts this year. This guy had a lot of hype about a year ago, and things are starting to quiet down. That might be understated right now. He might be a guy that you might want to look into a little bit more. Start looking at his game a little bit more, looking at those numbers. Just because he took that year off doesn't mean his skills are going away. He's still got that talent. He's still got that nuanced route running. We saw that in high school. We saw that in the early stages. That means he's just a natural at it because he was doing it at so young of an age. Also took the time to learn it. Going to be able to take time to learn more things because he's already shown us that he can do that, and he's willing to do that because not everybody else is. So there's some good things. I think he's a very safe prospect. I don't feel like there's any risk with him. Even if he goes to a bad landing spot, he's definitely going to give you a little bit more in baseline results. I don't see this guy falling on his face unless injuries start creeping up or something like that. But those are something that you don't really want to put in there because those are not predictable. But honestly, he's a wide receiver that's going to be very safe. And he has some upside for fantasy football due to his craftiness, due to his ability to get open. And his draft capital is going to allow him to get opportunities early in his career. He does have a chance to be a top-tier wide receiver. He could possibly be that. There's good odds for that compared to other draft prospects. But also, he could be in the minutia as well. One thing you want to note when you're looking at rookie drafts, you're looking at him versus the running backs, like the top 3, top 4, once the dust settles after draft day, once we get the draft capital and everything, you want to think about these wide receivers. They're in a big pool of a lot of other talented wide receivers, and they jockey up and down for position week to week, month to month, year to year. That is a position you can patch up on the cheap in season, in off season, and figure it out. Right now, running backs resetting. So for a tiebreaker, you're going to want to lean to the running backs this year. Even though you might miss out on a good wide receiver, you can hold that wide receiver for a long time. But honestly, you should be getting those more in the startup drafts. You should already have some already. The thing about the running backs here is you got so many of them. You can lean on them. You can cash in on them. And once you get to that sticking point, then you can lean to that wide receiver. But if you got a tie between that running back and wide receiver, you're liking them both, you might as well lean with the running back. I'm talking about the top tier guys versus the top tier wide receivers and so forth. The mid-tier wide receivers, mid-tier running backs, and on down the line, because the running back position is going to be hard to fill. You're going to want youth at that position for the long term, and that's something you want to stock up at. And the odds of the running backs are getting opportunities early in their career, holding their value during the first couple years of their career is good as well. So you can always sell out if you're not liking that running back. But I do like Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I do think he's a first-round caliber rookie prospect here that you want to look at in rookie drafts. You need to spend that draft capital on. I feel like you're also going to catch him at a discount. I see people catching him at the 109, 110, 111, 108 in mock drafts and in actual drafts that people are drafting now. And I feel like for his talent, for what he did at Ohio State, and potential draft capital, I think that's a little cheap, but this is also draft rich at running back. That's why I'm talking about pivoting to the running back position and then going at the wide receiver. You may not even have that decision anyways because you might be able to catch him at a discount once we get into draft season, once we get into rookie draft season. I definitely feel like one of these wide receivers are going to fall to you, and you can catch a talented wide receiver at a good spot in the first round of rookie drafts because the market is having trouble gauging what to do with these talented running backs along with these top 3 wide receivers that we got. And guaranteed, if one doesn't go to the correct situation, then you might be able to catch one at a discount. That could be Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Considering what we're looking at here in mock drafts, considering the landscape of who needs wide receivers, that could possibly happen. So keep your eyes open for that. Overall, I think he's a good prospect. He's a good get for fantasy football. I think he's a wide receiver that you definitely will want to try and get. I feel like he's pretty safe. Let me know in the comments below what you think about him. Are you trying to draft him up? What is your overall strategy? Also, hit that subscribe button on the way out. It's only going to help you for your rookie draft, your dynasty teams. Will also help you a ton in season as well. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.